Hi, this is Jessie at Iso Rice. Today I'll be making Miso Ramen Noodle Soup. My husband Andy has a recipe for making the broth in a regular pot. Although it's not labor intensive as Tonkotsu Ramen Noodle Soup, it still takes about 6 to 8 hours to make it. So I decided to convert his recipe into an Instant Pot version. So I hope you like it. It only takes about 2 hours to make the broth and also the noodles. So let's get started. So before cooking, I want to mention 3 key ingredients in this recipe. So the first ingredient that I want to talk about is miso. So there are 3 types of miso by color. They are white, brown, and red. So what I have here are white miso and the red miso. So the white miso is mild and a little bit sweeter than the red miso and also less saltier, and because it's younger. So the red miso is much saltier and has really strong, rich flavor and deep aroma. If you guys don't want to buy all types of miso, you can start with the white miso because it's most versatile in cooking. So the next ingredient is kombu, which is the dry kelp. And this is one of the key ingredients to make dashi in Japanese cooking. When you buy the package, you see the white stuff on the kombu, and that's actually the real natural form of MSG. That's where the umami flavor comes from, so don't wash it off, remember. But one thing I do want to mention is for the broth, you can soak the kombu overnight, and then the next day you can discard the kelp and then use the water for the broth. But if you don't have time to soak it, you can do like I did here. After the broth is done, add the kombu while it's still hot and cover with the lid for 10 minutes. That should extract all the flavor from the kombu. The last ingredient for this recipe is bonito flakes. This is made from dried aged bonito fish and then cut into paper thin, and it has very strong, smoky and fishy flavor. For some people, it might be too fishy for them, and this is optional ingredient if you don't like fishy taste. But I strongly recommend using a small amount of bonito flakes first and see if you like it. Alright, let's start making the broth. First, we are gonna cut the leek into half. And then make sure you wash it thoroughly and cut into 1-inch pieces. Peel the onion and cut into quarters. And now this is my favorite part because I can use my Instant Pot. So we are gonna saute the ginger, garlic, onion, and the leek. Then give it a stir. After 10 minutes, the vegetables are softened. Add fresh shiitake mushrooms, or you can use dried shiitake mushrooms. Then I cut the stewing chicken into 4 pieces because it's too big and add it to the pot. Add 3 quarts of water. Add bonito flakes. After 60 minutes, the broth is looking good. So So like I mentioned earlier, you can soak the kombu overnight, or now you can add it to the broth and just cover with a lid for 10 minutes. And then strain the broth through a colander. So this is the ramen egg that I made last night, and it's marinated in a tare sauce that I made. This looks good. Now we are gonna make the miso broth. Bring the broth to a boil, and I'm taking out 1 cup of the broth and mix with the miso. So for 1 quart of the broth, I add 2 big tablespoons of the white miso and then 1 big tablespoon of the red miso. Give it a stir and make sure the miso is blended into the broth and add it back to the broth. Look at that, the broth looks creamy and very delicious. Alright, I promise this is the last step. Pour the broth to the bowl and then put your favorite toppings over the noodles. For this miso ramen noodle soup, I put memar, braised pork belly, mushrooms, 6-minute ramen eggs, and then some scallions. By the way, I forgot to add the corn. There it is. This chicken-based miso broth is hearty and ridiculously rich and full of umami flavor. By the way, I also have a recipe for shoyu ramen noodle soup, and I have the link in the description, so feel free to check it out. And that's it. If you guys like this recipe or find this video is helpful, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I hope to see you next time. Until we eat again. Bye!